Well, it seems like it's been a while.
It has. It has.
We missed you on our last episode.
Yes, I was in the great state of North Carolina for canine training. So,
I know and you got out right before the snow. Did that work out okay?
that was exactly, and that was why, unfortunately, I had to reschedule. So I was scheduled to fly out Sunday morning, like early. Our company's really good. They have us fly out as early as possible. And the reason I was like, why do you have me getting out at the airport at 5 a.m.? They're like, because if you get there and the airlines have problems with you, the dog, the paperwork, the certifications, we can book you on the next flight. And I was like, oh, that makes sense. Like if we book you at the 3 p.m. or the 4 p.m. flight, and that's the last one that's going out to North Carolina for the day,
Yeah, you're done.
and you get there and they go, oh, we needed this piece of paperwork, or this one's out of date, or we needed something else. She says, airlines do crazy things. If they do that, and all of a sudden you don't have the right paperwork, you're stuck. And she goes, so we will always try to put you on the earliest flight possible. So that way, if something does come up, you can, oh, here, we'll fax it over, we'll email it over, we'll, whatever. So then you have it. So then they can get you on like the next flight or the next flight, hopefully get you up, within that day. I'm like, okay, so that makes sense. So I was on early Sunday morning, and I was actually down at the account that I work at Saturday morning, and it's 5 a.m. And at 5 a.m. I get a phone call, or I get a text message saying, "Bling, your flight's been canceled," and it says, please call us for rebooking information. I was like, okay. So I went on the app, and the app says, no flights available at this time for rebooking. And I'm like, well, that's not good.
And just for context, anybody might be like, what's going on there? We had this huge winter storm come in.
Yeah. And it was like they knew it was coming, but they weren't sure like how, like, oh, we're going to get a lot of snow. How much is a lot? It's a lot. Yeah. How much is a lot? It's a lot.
Anywhere between 2 and 72.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what it was too. Well, depending upon where in the metro, and it's like, okay. And so I thought I'd finished working for the day, and I thought, I'm not going to wait until everybody else wakes up to this message. I'm going to get ahead of it now. So I called the airlines and I said, here's the deal. Got the notification. Says my flight's been canceled. If anything going out earlier. And she goes, no, flights for the whole day have been canceled. I said, okay. I said, how about Monday morning? I said, not knowing what the weather was going to be like. And she goes, the earliest flight we have going out on Monday is 5 p.m. Well, that doesn't work because I start my recertification training started on Monday. I said, yeah, that doesn't work. And she goes, can you fly out today? And I said, I bet I could. And she goes, I've got a 10:30 that's going out. And keep in mind, this is like 5 a.m., 6 a.m. And I'm like,
and you have to go home.
Yeah, it's like it was like 10:30 or 11:30, something like that. But it was like a few hours. And I'm like, okay. I go, and she's like, I have a 10:30. I think it was 10:30. She goes, I have a 10:30, and she goes, or I have like a 5:15. Well, the snow was supposed to start around 4 o'clock, between 4 and 5 o'clock. And I thought, boy, the later flight would have been nice, but I didn't also want to run the chance of getting out there and or booking that that 5 o'clock and getting there, and the snow started at 4, and I get there and they go, oh no, it's too heavy, shutting it down. So I'm like, okay, 10:30 it is, or whatever it was. So I got home and walk in the house, and I start grabbing my stuff, and I wake up my wife, and I said, just so you know, I'm like, I'm heading to the airport. And she's like, what? And I said, yeah. I said, I have to go now because they canceled my flight for tomorrow. And she's like, I knew it. And I said, yep. And we had called the day before. And that's when they said, nope, there's nothing we could do. We don't have anything else. Too bad. So sorry. And I was like, okay. So yeah. So loaded everything up to the airport. I messaged you on my way to the airport and went, guess where I'm on my way to? So got to the airport, got checked in, got on the plane, flew out there. Everything worked out well. Didn't sound like it was as bad as it was still, we got a lot of snow in a short period of time.
It wasn't terrible. It really wasn't. It was the typical Minnesota forecast.
Yeah. And I thought, what I thought was funny too was, so I fly out the day before the snowstorm. So we get all that snow, and then I'm there, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, fly home Friday. And I get home Friday and the plane hits the ground. I look out the window and I'm like, where's all this snow you guys were talking about?
Oh yeah, it was already gone.
It was gone.
Yeah, that's right.
It was gone.
That's right. Oh, well, what an intro.
Right?
What an intro. Well, everyone, welcome to another episode of We Are Under Investigation, or Under Investigation, I should say. It's been so long, I don't even know the name of our podcast anymore.
Yeah, we can manipulate it here and there.
Right. So, again, this is your host Mike, and with Brant, you're a co-host. I think we promoted you, didn't we?
I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
I think we promoted you.
Yeah.
And then we're doing something really weird today, really different, I should say.
It's not really weird. You make it sound like,
it's really weird.
We're not that old. It's not really weird. It's called technology. Don't be afraid of it.
I'm staring at TikTok in front of me.
We are live on TikTok right now. Yep. So, well, here's the thing. Here's the problem, though, right? So when this episode airs, right, we aren't going to be live.
That's true.
So for those of you listening right now, don't jump on TikTok because we're not live right now on TikTok.
Oh, that's true.
Right. So we're live now.
And I was going to say, and the reverse happens. So if you're watching us on TikTok, you don't have to worry in a couple days when the episode.
If you're watching us on TikTok, right, then you don't need to worry about listening to the podcast because you're listening to us now.
And you're staring at Brant's face.
Yeah, because Mike doesn't want to be on TikTok live today.
Nope, not my thing today.
It's okay, but we're going to try to. A lot of the comments I've been getting was, can we do more live stuff? Can we? People like the interactions that we do. The snippets and things like that we're doing on our social media platforms, and
which are
Facebook, Instagram, TikTok,
and the website has everything.
Yes. So, but the comments I keep getting are, well, how come you guys don't do live shows? And I said, do you know what it costs to, tech wise, to do a live podcast? And I'm like, we'd love to do that. We just need some donations.
How much money do you have?
Need some donations to get things going. That'd be fantastic. But yeah, so we are. This is our first TikTok live, so we're excited to have that. The hope would be, if it goes well, then every time we do record a podcast, that we can go live. We'll maybe even try to, on that platform, do some sort of a promotional, like, here, this is when we're going to be going on. So those that do maybe want to jump on the TikTok live, they can see us live then.
Ooh, fancy.
Yeah.
And there is some technology to cross some of those socials as well. Like, you could technically go Facebook Live, and my wife's band, that's what they do. They have I will talk about it offline, but they've got a recording platform that pushes it out live to all their social medias. So that is a possibility as well.
Yeah. And so that's our plan, would be to just, again, just another way to start getting out there, and because like a lot of the comments I get is, oh, you guys don't do more lives. And I'm like, we'd love to, it's the technology, it's what it is, it's getting out there. So, but with that, so we'll try to keep advancing forward as we, as you and I both learn going through the whole podcast thing. We'll keep it going. So
yeah, we didn't exactly start out with a big budget.
No,
matter of fact, we still don't really have a budget.
Not really a budget. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I still say we need to start like I don't want to use the word GoFundMe. What's the one we get to, like, a Cash App, wherever. Let's start a Cash App account, and then I'll just Venmo. Yeah.
Venmo me some money.
Yeah. We'll start telling people you can donate to our Venmo or our Cash App.
We're not that.
I don't even have one of them.
I
don't even know what they are. I don't even have one. I mean, I know what they are, but I don't have.
Oh, I have a Venmo. I'm not advertising it on here.
No, but so we could do something like that. But so anyway, so that was so I was in North Carolina for a week, recertifying, got back, and then now I get to go travel again for the company. So I don't mind that, but we're in the midst of, for those that know me or don't know me, my wife works for the Transportation Security Administration.
What?
I know. And unfortunately, everybody's like,
so you guys are broke right now.
We are. Yeah, it's not broke. I mean, we're broke, but we're not broke. I mean, I will say, so listening to my wife goes, she's still going to work every day. She hasn't missed a day.
So wait a second. Just I want to hit that for just a second. Mm-hmm. So we're going to talk about this because this is like the number one issue in the United States right now. And
as it should be.
And your wife works for TSA. So what better authority to speak than somebody who it's literally affecting their
yeah.
finances.
Well, she would be better to speak at than I would, but she won't come on the podcast.
No.
She said openly, she's like, I'm not doing that. I'm not. So
She'd probably swear a lot.
but we definitely would have issues. We'd have restrictions for sure. No, it's been challenging. I think a lot is, I think when the whole thing started, I think a lot of people don't realize that a lot of the, and again, I'll get it wrong, and my wife will correct me on it, but a lot of the federal workers just came off of a not getting paid stint, and so I know for us, we'd gone a while. I mean, a month. Don't quote me on the exact, and social media don't crucify me on because I got my days wrong, but we had just come off where she hadn't gotten paid for a while. She got paid, so we're already behind in bills, and so we get kind of caught up with everything, and then 2 weeks, 3 weeks later, another pay period and a half went by. And I think that's another common misconception people think, and they go, when you watch on the news outlets, they say, well, TSA workers haven't been paid since I think they're saying February 14th. And what I think a lot of people don't realize is that paycheck they got on February 14th was a half a check. It wasn't a full check because the government shutdown happened mid-pay period.
Yeah, you don't hear people talking about that.
Yeah, and so they didn't even get a full 2-week paycheck. They got a 1-week paycheck. So they got one paycheck that was a half a paycheck, and then they haven't gotten anything since then. And so I will say, and again, I know different locations are different ways, but just chatting with my wife, I know that it's been a huge, the passengers, at least at MSP, have been fantastic. They've been dropping off gift cards and food donations.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. The outpouring, at least at MSP, has been, my wife told me at one point it was so busy that they literally had to take one of the managers and assign the managers to be kind of in charge of like money and cash and gift cards and donations.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah, because it was, people would come through and they would hand they'd hand the TSA agent, $50, thank you for being here,
Go buy yourself a Big Mac.
Yeah. And of course they can't accept that. That's a huge, huge no-no. So
because you're buying your way through security.
Yeah. So then,
what do they do with it?
So that's what they do. So they would turn it over to the manager. The manager in turn would take it and go, whether it was within the airport or if it was outside of the airport, they would go and buy gift cards, and then the gift cards would become distributed to the different employees as needed.
Oh, okay.
They, donations, from, food donations and gift just stuff like that it was crazy. The stuff that was getting, it's been getting donated. So it really has been kind of a big deal for what they've been doing. But it's been, it's a challenging, struggle. I mean, we're doing okay because we're still kind of a dual income type, facility or home. So for us, it's not been terrible. I mean, we're getting by. It's definitely, you notice the pinch, you notice the, where things get tight. There's certain bills that you're kind of pushing off or you're making minimum payments on and things like that. So you're kind of like, you're making do. But, my wife and I have a discussion about, what about the people that are,
single incomes? Yeah, that's what I was just thinking.
Yeah.
Wow.
You're just coming off of not getting a full, you're just coming off of not getting paid. And like I said, I want to say it was about a check and a half. So it wasn't like it was like a month, months that they had just gotten their back pay. And then all of a sudden check and a half. And all of a sudden, nope, we're shutting down again, So, and again, I think don't quote me if it might've been 2.5 checks, but it wasn't like you were back up and running full strength. But yeah, that's the thing that's going on right now. So then, all these TSA workers that are calling out, what do you expect them to do?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's one thing if you've got dual income coming in, but I know my wife says they've got a lot of husband-wife combinations that work at MSP. So when you and your wife both are employees of TSA and that is your only income, and now neither one of you are, that's a problem. People aren't, they're not paying their rent. They're not making their car payments. They're not making their mortgages and things like that because where do you get it from? And so, all these TSA workers are calling out, well, yeah, they got to pay their bills. And so a lot of these TSA workers are finding out alternative sources of income.
I was just going to say, are people like doing Uber, or, I
Yeah.
mean, just finding some other temporary.
Uber and Amazon Flex and the fresh delivery stuff. I mean, yeah, I mean that's
Instacart.
they have to
Look at
because
all those sponsors we just mentioned.
yeah, which any of them can give us a kickback anytime. Totally okay.
Yeah, Brant wants to go live, so we need
Right.
computer gear.
Yeah, to gear us up with more stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those situations where, um, it's unfortunate. But so it sounds like, again, a lot of like interesting thing happens. So it sounds like, I don't, I'm not a huge, I really stay out of, I stay out of the media. I don't pay attention to it because it's in today's day and age, you don't know what's real, you don't know what's not, you don't know what's true, you don't know what's fake, and so. But I did hear Elon Musk was going to pay the TSA
Is there
agents.
any movement to that?
Well,
is there any truth to
sounds
that?
like that. It sounds like it was true, but it sounds what happened is that the Trump stepped in, and it sounds like effective Monday they're going to start getting some, and it sounds like it's not full. Again, there's still details that are coming in, but it sounds like it's not going to be full back pay, but it'll be kind of like the last like pay period that they'll get paid that they didn't get paid for. They're going to start kind of catching up. So they'll have something coming in, but again, I think a lot of unknowns, right?
Because is there money owed?
Oh yes.
I mean, I realize, like, prior to the shutdown itself, you said they were kind of mid check, or maybe the timing is off on that. But I guess what I'm saying that is before the shutdown, is there time that hasn't been compensated for yet, or did they square up there?
No, yeah. They're squared up to the shutdown because, like I said, the shutdown happened mid pay period. So they went through the first pay week, shutdown happened, and then they got paid for that first week. But then that second week of that pay period, they didn't get paid for. So you're talking 1.5 pay periods in February. And again, don't quote me on the pay, how many pay, when the pay schedules for TSA is, but 1.5 pay periods in February, both pay periods in March now. So you're 1, 2, 3, 3.5 pay periods that haven't been paid for. And again, I'm guessing, right? I mean, but I believe that's what it is. I think we're 3.5 pay periods. So I tell anybody else that's out there, and I think the other thing to remember too is, right, which a lot of people don't really, are the TSA agents in general, right? They're not knocking down 6 figures here. Like, it pays well. It's a good government job. It's a secure job. It pays well.
I might argue the secure part. I mean, every time our politicians start fighting, I mean, TSA is like the first one to get choked. Yeah, it's just ridiculous. It's maddening, is what it is.
Well, How
about we not pay the senators and the
and I think that's a great idea. The problem is that there's apparently something in the Constitution that says you can't do that. But I mean, I think the frustrating part is that it's DHS, it's Homeland Security in general. It gets blanketed. So, and that just, again, it's just like anything else. I mean, what you're seeing is nothing different than if someone wanted to, at a normal job, they wanted to go on strike, they just walk out the door. This is essentially, I mean, people that are saying, hey, I can't do this. I mean, look at how long these TSA employees continued to go to work before they started having all these call outs.
Yeah.
They know it's there. They know they're going to get paid. It's just a matter of when and how long can you stabilize. I think a lot of why people aren't going to work now is it's not because they don't want to go to work. It's because they can't afford. They have to go find income.
Yeah, they need money.
Yeah, I don't think it's about we're not going to go to work. We're going to show them. I don't think that's it. I don't think it's we're going to show them. I think it's I got to pay my bill. I got to put gas in my tank.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not even talking making my mortgage at this point. I mean,
that's a big bill.
Or
that's
paying
a big
rent.
bill that could wait.
Yeah. And we're talking about putting gas in my car so I can drive to work, it's stuff like that is.
Do you know, so I understand, that because of the way your family dynamics are set up, it's painful, but you're surviving,
Mhm.
right? You mentioned the single income families or the dual income families, but both of them are TSA agents,
Right.
so essentially zero cash. Do you or your wife know of anybody that's kind of in those latter groups that are just literally, what am I doing here?
Mhm.
And what are they doing? I mean,
It's
they're doing
well,
Instacart?
yeah.
Mm.
I mean, it's things like that. It's. I mean, there's a bunch of those delivery services that are out there and things like that. But even those, if you look at them, see the problem is that um, they're all service need driven, right?
Mhm.
So, um, for example, Amazon does a program. It's called Amazon Flex, which is you can go on there, you can go deliver Amazon packages for Amazon, and you get paid to do it. It's like Instacart and things like that. It's Amazon, right? It's a pretty good gig. It's depending upon where you're delivering to and things like that, and the amount of hours. it's it's not a bad gig, but what they pay is driven upon the need. So,
Supply and demand,
correct. And
basic
they know that.
economics.
So 3 months ago, when someone would go on and say, "Oh, I'm going to go do an Amazon shift. I'm going to take my personal car with my insurance and wear and tear on my vehicle and my time, and I'm going to go do an Amazon delivery. And I'm going to do it for 3 hours, maybe 4 hours, and I'm going to get paid 80, 90, $100. Well, you break it down, you go, that's not bad. It's 25, $30 an hour. That's not too bad. If you go on and look now, it's like $60.
Yeah, and I guess the way that's working is, hey, Amazon's saying we've got 500 packages we need to send today.
Mhm.
They need to get out,
Right.
so we're gonna have to pay more to get people to do this.
No,
Where today, oh, we only got 50 packages, whatever.
no, I think it's the other way around.
The opposite.
I think it's they still have that same 100 packages that go out,
Mhm.
but instead of having 50 people that want to go deliver them, they've got
Oh,
150.
okay, I see what you're saying.
And so someone's going to take that 3-hour shift for $60. Might not be you, because you might look at it and go, wait a minute, I did this a month ago, and for the same 3 hours, I made $90. Why would I do it today for 60? You know,
Yeah, it's the
well,
pool. How many are in the pool?
correct.
Yeah, I get you.
You know, so again, it's like you said, it's that supply and demand side of things. It's the supply and demand of, I'd love to do it, but and you can, and it's not that it's still not lucrative, but it isn't as lucrative as it would be, because by the time you figure out, all right, I'm going to make $60, I make $70 for 3.5 hours. Okay, well, you break that down. How much per hour, right? Okay. Well, then now how much did it cost you to put gas in your car?
And wear
So
and
depending
tear.
upon where you're delivering that day, I mean, if you're if you're delivering in town, if you're delivering within the municipality, if you, okay, I've got 100 packages I have to deliver, but all of them are in Crystal or Crystal and New Hope, and so I'm just going bing, 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 bing. Well, the gas and the wear and tear isn't terrible. But if you get outside the metro and say, well, I picked this up and I picked up an
Yeah,
Egan.
20 miles to go.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because I mean, one of their distribution places is in Egan. I pick up an Egan, and now I got to go to Farmington and Rosemont and Lakeville, and I'm literally,
yeah, I'm bouncing.
9, 12 minutes. I mean, again, gas mileage. So, but you got to subtract that. I mean, forget about wear and tear. Let's just subtract what you pay in gas. Well, no, take that off. Now, if it costs you, let's just say it costs you $20 in gas. Well, now you didn't make 70, right? You made 50. Now you take that $50, you break it down to 3.5 hours. I made $15 an hour.
Right. It's not worth my time.
For
me, it's not.
But that's the way off, though. I mean, that's
And by the way, let's not forget the dirty little secret. If your insurance company finds out you're acting as a commercial delivery, they don't like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I actually had that conversation with a
Oh, I can see that.
an unnamed agent
Well,
for a particular company that they're like, yeah, no, we'll cancel you.
Yeah, and I'm surprised that it hasn't gotten to the point where more insurance carriers haven't come out and said, hey, what's going on? What are you doing? How can or and again, I'm sure I'm sure if something does happen, unfortunately, if something does happen, I'm sure that the insurance company's going to go, you were doing what now? you
Yeah.
know. And I don't know. I mean, will we see that becoming
pizza
a
delivery
fad?
drivers? I mean, you've
Yeah.
heard stories.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
I've been involved in those,
Yeah.
not personally, but like
Well,
as an officer.
that was back in, back in the early 2000s. That's what it was. That's why a lot of these pizza delivery places were going to their own delivery cars,
Hmm.
is because their drivers were having a hard time getting in, keeping insurance, because they were finding out. And it was the just out of high school kid, the 20-something-year-old was like, I'm gonna go make some cash delivering, slinging pizzas, and I'll make money off tips, and I'll get this. And all of a sudden, these insurance companies found out they were delivering pizza and went, "Oh no, we're going to jack your rates." Well, at a 20-something-year-old already is already paying through the rates through the roof.
Yeah, very much so. Very
Yeah,
much so. So what, outside of these secondary jobs, a lot of hope and prayer for some of these people.
yeah. I think it's just like anything else, right? I mean, it's. I think just like with any company and or business that goes on strike, or that has a shutdown. The hope is that well, there's a Senate vote on Wednesday. There's a Senate vote on Friday. I mean, the hope
Yeah.
is that that it'll come to fruition, and people go, oh, yep, that makes sense. Let's fund it. And I think that's the big thing, that it comes down to, is how many people will actually, you know I think that's the prayer, is, okay, I'm not gonna have to go find something else, because if this goes through, hey, we're gonna be sitting fine. We'll be okay. You know,
I think the problem is now is like the politics behind it.
100%.
Everything is so tied into ICE. The extreme left has taken over that party.
Yeah.
And grant, now I'm talking about politics, but I mean the reality is they're so far divided right now. The Republicans are like, hey, if we give into this, we have no leverage on the ICE issue.
Yeah.
And that's why the
Mhm.
House killed it yesterday.
Yeah.
So anybody who knows, we're recording on Saturday, the vote
Yep.
was on Friday.
Yep.
Senate, it passed through the Senate with this bill, basically a continuing resolution to pay TSA, but they hacked ICE out of it.
Yep.
And the Republicans are like, well, hey, if we give into this, we'll have absolutely no leverage on the ICE issue.
Right.
So it's this incestuous mess
Yeah.
that just
It-
the reality is you can't. I guess what I'm saying is, what's the end goal with ICE? You can't get rid of them. You're hearing abolish, abolish, abolish. It's like, well, wait a second. You can't do that. They're needed.
Yeah.
Maybe in a different form, or maybe in a different procedural method. But the reality is deportations need to happen. We're like
Yeah.
the only country that just
Well, and I think
seems to be stuck on this.
the other thing I think is funny is that they go back, they're playing all these clips from all these Democratic politicians, 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago. They're up there, talking about immigration and immigration enforcement, and we have to have this, and we have to do this and that. But now it comes down to, it's like, whoa, hold on a second now. Okay, real quick. So apparently we have people following us on TikTok.
Oh,
So,
no.
yeah, which is a good
Oh,
thing.
yes.
Yep. So yeah. Yeah.
Well, anyways, Brant's trying to read something.
There's people that are commenting as I'm going. It's scrolling, it's great. But for those of you that are following on TikTok, we really appreciate it. But they're scrolling pretty fast, so I'm not necessarily catching all the comments that are going through. But we do thank you for following us on our live today. This is our first one, so I think everybody that is following us knows it's our first one. So if you're following us on TikTok live right now, once again, this is a recorded message. So if you're listening to us, the TikTok live is already done. But if you're watching us right now on TikTok live, we appreciate you being there. But I think the other thing that, and again, those on our platforms don't, crucify me on this, because,
Oh, they will.
because I don't have exact numbers, but like I said, I don't follow the media because I don't know what's true and what's not true. But I heard ... that some of the issues aren't necessarily the ICE stuff; it's the extreme, right? The Republicans have started to kind of give a little bit on some of this ICE stuff, but what they want is kind of the extreme. It's, and I like, a couple of things that came up was, I heard, well, we don't want the ICE agents to wear face coverings, and then I heard that
Stop doxing them.
So then the Republican, right? But then I heard the Republicans came out and said, "Tell you what, we'll agree to that, except on certain cases where they're, high profile or, just, except for dot, 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 dot. If it falls under this kind of criteria, then they should be able to wear the face mask because it's protecting their safety, blah, 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 blah. Just like we would do with any of our, in law enforcement, our
We
drug
do it.
task force. Correct. Yep. We do it already. And
Yeah.
it's done across the country with certain task force and things like that we allow it. So the Republicans came back and said, okay, we'll concede to this part of it. And we'll say, no face coverings except X, Y, and Z. And the Democrats came back and said no.
Yeah. No.
And so I think it's a lot of all or nothing from the Democrats. And I think, not to say that the Republicans aren't holding their ground too, because I think the Republicans also know that if they give in too much, it becomes the avalanche theory. Well, if we got this much this time, what do we get next time? And they start taking it away. But where does it, you don't have to look too far to know that we need immigration. We need the deportation. I mean, and you look at the people they're deporting, and yes, I mean, there is the collateral damage that goes with that. I mean, if you happen to be with your buddy who is a convicted felon and he's being deported, and you're also here illegally and you get deported with him, that's collateral damage. You're going with him. Like, guess you shouldn't have been hanging out with him then if you didn't want to roll that
Absolutely.
dice.
And that's what, that's what some of the people on the other side of the aisle are talking about, is that, well, we're deporting people who were just overstayed their visas. Like, well, no, those are not the people they're targeting.
Right.
They're targeting the criminal aliens.
Correct.
But if you're hanging out with them, what are they supposed to do? Hey, we know you're here illegal, but because you're not a criminal alien, we're not going to put you in handcuffs and deport you. No, you're in the wrong place at the wrong time, buddy. You're going.
And let's not overshadow that too much. The fact that you've overstayed your visa, that is a violation of the law.
Right.
The fact that you're in the country illegally is a violation of the law. So you're still a criminal. Like, we may not classify you as a violent criminal, but you're still a criminal. You're still in this country illegally. And so, yeah, you're going. You're taking the ride. And so I think that's the big thing, is that they're looking at, like, well, we can't do this, we can't do that. And here's the thing that I think is quasi, right? The funding that they're talking about, the funding they're trying to hold against, the government. ICE has already been funded. ICE is funded under a completely different bill. So you're not defunding ICE.
Now, in fairness, I just this morning heard they're funded, but the agents are funded, not the support staff.
Correct.
And that's the problem that they're running into right now.
Yeah, it is.
And as we know, I mean, support staff is the spine.
Absolutely.
I mean, they're the ones that get stuff done.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and I just actually had saw that and read that this morning.
Yeah, and that's and again, you're exactly right. But I think, and again, there's always the undertones of everything else. But if the goal of the Democrats is to defund the ICE program, someone needs to take a step back and go, they're funded, right? Like, the agents themselves that you're trying to, like, defund ICE, the agents are already funded, right? And it's a completely different.
Oh, a lot of people don't know that.
Correct. But I think a lot of
or they willfully forget that part.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
But again, so by defunding, they want the reform. They're using the strong arm of funding DHS, which includes Coast Guard, which includes TSA, which includes DHS.
We should put a little reminder out there that whether we like it or not, we're currently in a large scale battle with Iran.
Yeah,
and those are some critical components. And without getting into detail, and you're going to understand where I'm coming here.
Yeah,
I get a lot of intelligence bulletins.
Yeah,
just through the nature of my job, and I'm telling you, we're close to getting nailed here.
Oh yeah.
And let me be very clear to those who are listening. When I say nailed, I mean terrorism.
Yeah.
Attack.
Yep.
And we are literally, come on in. I'm just like, I'm so upset by that whole thing. Like, you're literally playing with my future and my children's future.
Yep. And again, the same thing, like you said, without getting into too much, declaration of what you find, you don't find. There are stories that I hear about, well, this got stopped at this airport today, and this got stopped at
Oh,
this
of
airport
course.
today. And I think if the normal, and again, I think on purpose it's not promoted, but I think if the normal operating public was out there and knew what, you know, I think TSA is, they don't get the credit they deserve for what they do. I think these these officers that are there, these lead officers, these supervisors, these, boots on the ground. And again, not that the people above, the managers and stuff, don't do their part too, because they got there somehow. But the agents that are at the checkpoints, the lead officers who are managing those people, the supervisors that are overseeing the whole operation, they don't get the credit for the stuff that they come across. And it's like anything else I tell people, like with my working dog, you know, she's not always going to find the bomb, right? If she does, we're going to be on the cover of a news article. I mean, she's, it's not the bomb that we're looking for. Not that won't happen. Not that couldn't come through. It's the elements of the bomb that she looks
Right.
for.
Right.
It's the components that my dog is looking for. Same thing. These TSA officers, they're doing their job to try to prevent. And the problem is that, like you said, what are we doing? I mean, in a critical time that we're in the middle of a conflict, that we're all of a sudden going to start taking one of our frontline workers that are
Defense
prevents this.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we're going to be like, yeah, we're not going to pay you. It's like, oh yeah, no, that's a good idea. The Coast Guard, because the conflict's not, we're near water or anything at all.
Right.
So the Coast Guard, yeah, we're not going to fund you guys. We're still going to expect you to go to work though, by the way, but we're not going to fund you. It just, take a, and again, take a breath, take a step back, meaning some of these, and once again, on either side of the aisle, Democrats and Republicans, like, take a step back and go, hey, you know what? Maybe this battle that you want to fight, whether it's as far as the Democrats or whatever the stance is on ICE and things like that, maybe this is it's like we used to, the line we use in law enforcement, right? Pick your battles.
Yeah, this is not the one I would pick.
Not right now.
Yeah.
Right.
Maybe later.
Yep.
When the Iran thing wasn't happening.
Yep. If the Iran thing wasn't, and again, not that it still doesn't affect my household, but
right.
But it does, because it does either way. But with everything that's going on, is now the time you really want to start defunding or not paying workers who are supposed to be protecting your airports? What? I mean, I find that to be, again, if you're going to do it, whatever. I mean, it's what politicians do. It's what they're always going to do, And when there's a Democrat in office again, it's going to flip around and be the opposite. The Republicans are going to be fighting the Democrats and holding strong for this and that. It's fine. That's what politics is. That's what makes politics politics. It's why guys like you and I don't get into politics, because we wouldn't do so well.
No, I wouldn't.
You know what I mean?
I would not.
But there's a reason. I mean, that's why, because we just, I wouldn't do that. But I think that when you have to get people, when we're talking about, our safety, I think someone needs to take a breath and go, hold on a second. Let's just defund or let's fund this thing for the next, 6 months, a year, whatever, 8 months. And then let's come back in July, and then we'll retalk. Then we'll, I mean, they can do that. They have the ability to say, hey, we'll fund this for this many months. That's what they did the first time. That's why we're in the position we're in now, because the government shut down. They came up with a temporary funding bill and pushed it out till the end of January to get everybody through the holidays. They can do that again. They could come in and say, all right, here's the deal. There's a lot going on right now in the country. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to fund it for 6 months. After we fund TSA and the Coast Guard and all the other organizations that are wrapped into this bill that are being penalized right now, support staff, things like that. After we're done doing that, then we're going to have a conversation. Then we're going to readdress this. We're going to have a conversation.
Yeah, just to kind of back the ICE thing up for a second, just to point out that ICE agents right now are working the airports.
People are losing their mind.
Well, I know, but I'm gonna but think this through for those who are listening. Why are the ICE agents at the airport? Because they're getting paid.
Right.
You know, I mean, but yet the left side of the aisle is screaming defund, like, we're not
Right.
gonna pay them. Well, too late. You're already paying them. The ones you're hurting are the TSA folks.
Correct.
The other groups that are tied into this. So the targeted group, quote unquote, it's a moot point because you've
Correct.
already agreed to pay them.
Yeah, and I think that, like,
It's maddening. I mean, obviously, if anybody who's listened to this show long enough, they probably know where you and I stand on a lot of things.
yeah,
But
of course.
it's like, come on.
Yeah, and I think that's the big thing too. Is it's you're sitting there and you're going, um, okay, so what's the end game? What and I think the thing is I think what happened was the previous administration let ICE sit so idle, and they didn't
Mhm.
really, they weren't really funded much. They didn't have a lot of agents. They didn't have and things kind of went awry. And so, do we go from 0 to 100 when it comes to immigrations and customs enforcement? Probably. I mean, I don't think anybody's saying, "Hey, we went from 0 to 100." But on the same note, look at the people that they're taking out of this country. Look at the people they're nabbing up. So I think you can't not fund immigrations and customs, right? And what I think a lot of people don't understand too is there are other roles that they do, right? You think about the agents that are going out and they're taking picking up the bad guys. I think you're forgetting that they do more than just that. I mean, our immigrations and customs enforcements do much more than just go around and snatch people up. Like, they're doing more and more. DHS, the Department of Homeland Security investigations, they've got investigators that are out doing investigations. Some cases 7 days a week.
HSI isn't tied into this funding, are they?
I don't know. Great
Okay.
question. Don't know.
Okay. I was like, I don't think so, but it's also Homeland Security.
But I think same thing.
Agents.
I think it goes back to what you were saying about ICE. Is while I don't think the agents of HSI are affected, I think their support staff is.
Okay.
So again, how effective are they able to do their job if they're not given the support staff to do it? And as anybody knows, right? I mean, our support staff. I mean, even when small police departments on up, right? I mean, I can tell you, like, the appreciation we had for our support staff is I mean, they were intricate in making sure that the agency kept running. This is no different. I mean, the people that it's just on a federal level, but yeah, so the TSA thing is pretty close to home for us. So we're hoping this thing gets resolved and gets kind of put back together. But there's a lot of other stuff that's going on that, with that. I mean, like you were saying, then there's like a big events. I mean, it was spring break, so once again,
Right. Busy time.
it's spring break. It's one of the busiest times, for TSA, airports in general, right? Just in general, airports in general, just the influx of people that are there. And then this happens and we're just going to, like, yeah.
Are you expecting back pay? I mean, is the belief that there will be back pay?
There will be. No,
Okay,
it's
so
not the expected. There will be. It's just a matter of when it comes. But that's the other part of the coin that bites you, right? So for those of you who work an exorbitant amount of overtime, right?
Mhm.
What happens, right? Back in your heyday when you were pounding the overtime, right?
Those days are gone. But yeah,
That's why I said
I'm
back in the
hearing you.
day.
I'm
That's
hearing
why I
you.
said back in the day. Back in the day when you were pounding the overtime, right? All of us in law enforcement knew one thing. There was a certain amount of overtime you could work before you got pounded in what?
Taxes.
So you're now going to fund TSA and you're going to come back and say, you know what? We've got the money. We signed the bill. We've signed the legislation, whatever you want to call it. Happy day, happy day. We're going to pay the TSA agents and we're going to back pay all of them. Well, let's just say the average TSA agent, and again, I'll use rough numbers. Let's say the average TSA agent makes between $2,000 and $3,000 a paycheck before taxes,
Mhm.
right? Because if they're making 20, 25 bucks an hour, 27 bucks an hour, that's about what it is, between $2,000 and $3,000 a paycheck.
Mhm.
Then you take your taxes and your medical benefits and your, 401k and all this stuff. But they're gross, not their net, Well, now triple that. So now your paycheck's not $3,000, right?
Put you into a totally new tax.
It's $12,000. Well, how much of that $12,000 are they going to get now? Because you just bumped not into like the next tax bracket. You went 3 tax brackets up. Yeah. And so now that check that was supposed to be this, 3, 6, 9, 10 grand. Well, you just bumped into 2 different tax levels higher. So out of that, you're going to these people are just going to get slaughtered in taxes because they bumped up 2 different tax brackets. And now that $9,000 check is going to be $4 grand, $5 grand, or what? Obviously I'm speaking to the extreme.
Oh yeah, no, I understand.
But they're just going to get, they're just going to get blasted.
One trick I used to do with that though, I don't know how
up your exemptions.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Put like
claim 9.
Yeah. Go to your max exemptions for that one check, and then just turn on and change it back. That was our workaround.
Yep.
But I understand your point, and I'm not disagreeing with your point.
But that's the other part. That's the other part.
And then maybe some of those people, right, wrong, and indifferent, count on overtime. Right? Let's just say, because, let's just be honest, because that's not a lot of money for a TSA agent if that's their full-time job.
No.
So, you're like, oh man, I count on 5 hours of overtime a week. Mm-hmm. Well, now you've gone how long with 0 overtime? So now you're even further back. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's this balloon that occurs.
I'll give it to you even better than that. So my household is one of those households. My wife is consistently working overtime to help. Part of which is she...
It's your lifestyle, Brant.
She wants to advance. So she wants to advance within the organization. So she wants to show that she's willing to, come in early, stay late, go above and beyond and things like that. And she does a very, very good job of doing that. And so even as of now, she's working overtime.
She's not going to get paid for it.
She will.
Oh, she will. Okay.
Yeah. But she's doing overtime shifts, hey, we need someone to stay late and go work this, this checkpoint, or we need someone to come in early to cover this checkpoint, or, hey, we're short staffed on this day. Do you think you could come in? It's overtime and she'll get paid as such. But once again, right, it's to what extreme? To, when does that check come in? But it's definitely, there's things, because again, having a retirement income like mine, and the fact that it's a disability and that I'm on disability income, we're very restricted on how much money we can make above and beyond and the great state of Minnesota just came back and revamped that again.
I'm sure not to your favor.
Not to our favor. No, no. For those of us that are on para disability, we cringe because it's just, I don't know. It's very stifling. It makes
it be a whole nother podcast.
It makes it correct. And I could bring a table full of people that would have discussions about this, because it's a whole nother thing, but so we're limited. I'm limited in how much above and beyond my retirement I can make. So I'm restricted on how much I can work. So really what I kind of work with my canine stuff, I'm kind of like, I got to manage that. Like, hey, I can only work so many hours in a year. I can work more hours here and less hours there. And, I can trade it off and things like that. But I really have to watch how many hours I'm working my canine stuff, because I can only make so many dollars before it basically ends up penalizing me, and so, I'm not going to go to work to get penalized.
Hey, that's the American way, man.
Well, it's the Minnesota way.
Yeah, well, that's true.
That's as far as what it comes down to, it's the Minnesota way. And those of you who are listening that are on disability or on medical para for disability, you're all nodding your heads right now going, yep. And it's not gotten any better. There's, and I even had, I had another friend of mine who's out on disability and has been a little bit longer than me. And he came back and literally made the comment. He says, I think I'm going to go back to work as a cop. And I said, how?
What?
And he goes, well, and his was a back injury. He was in a car crash, got rear-ended, messed up his back really bad, and was put out on medical disability because of his back being all messed up. And he's like, I found a job I can do, but every time I make any amount of money above and beyond what my retirement is, my disability, he goes, I get penalized for it next year. And they take it away from me next year. And he goes, whereas if I was working on the job, I could work all the overtime I wanted. And he goes, so why wouldn't I just say, forget it, go back into law enforcement, make, X amount of dollars an hour, and then I can work all the overtime I want. And I said, well, yeah, but the downside is your back's all jacked up. And he goes, but if I go work for, a smaller agency where I didn't have to work that hard. And I'm like, and again, it's the extreme of like, yeah, but then you end up, let's say you do get into something and all of a sudden, now you're paralyzed the rest of your life.
Right.
Like, is it
Right.
worth,
At
is it
what?
worth, is
At
it worth,
what risk?
is that gamble? I miss the job. I miss it every day. I tell everybody goes, do you miss it every day? Every day, good, bad, indifferent. I mean, I realize the pendulum is swung in the other way as far as what we do in our job and things like that, but I still miss it. I still miss doing the job. But not to the point that I'm going to sacrifice my heart condition to go back to work. I'm not doing that. You know what I mean?
So it's interesting because as you're talking about missing the job, so this is a big conversation we had very recently with some
At the job?
coworkers
Okay.
that I'll say. So I'm at the other end. It's like I'm looking so forward to retirement. Now I know you and I've talked in the past that hey, it's on my terms, right?
Correct.
And I know that's a big thing to a lot of medically retired officers, and I get that. It's interesting because I'm like, I'm like talking with a financial guy. I'm looking at my para. I'm like, can I go early? And so my mind is so completely different than where you're at. And it's just, it's interesting. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to label it one way or another. It's just because I'm sitting here going, dude, if I could retire tomorrow, I would.
Right.
And so it's like, and I don't think, and this is the word that I've been using a lot lately, I don't think I'm burned out. I'm just tired.
Yeah. No, and I think
tired.
I think how long? So
29 years.
That's when seeing that's where had I worked out, had I stayed on, I would have been about when I would have hit my retirement age, I would have been about 29 to 30 years is where I would have been, depending upon where I would go, and that's kind of where I think a lot of it, at least for me, it's because I was in the same position. I mean, I was, I'm I was 7 years out, I mean, I was, 45 and knowing that 55 was my target
and 55
plus or minus.
And that's where I'm at on paper.
Yep. And I was kind of looking, okay, because I had talked to a bunch of cops. Apparently 52, 53 is the sweet spot because apparently if you calculate what you pay into para, every paycheck, that compensates the penalty you're going to take for going in that 52, 53 range, depending upon how many years of service you have. So I know that there's a ton of people that were like, at 50, 51, 52, you should be talking to para and seeing, where that number is. And
I started at 21. So, I mean, I'll have 30
yeah.
next year. Oh gosh, I just told people my age. I don't care. Yeah. I'm just, I'm being honest.
Well, I just
30 years.
Yeah. So I just turned 52 in February. And so I would have had, and this is when I would have started looking like, okay, like where are my numbers at? Like, do I go at 52? Do I go at 53? Do I stay? Cause I was I was early 20s. I think I was like 25, 26 when I started. So for me, it would have been, I would have gone to that 55 mark, depending upon what the penalty and what the percentage was and things like that. I think it goes back to exactly what you said, because I started at 42 or at 45, I started doing the exact same thing. Okay, what's my financial advisor is going to tell me to do? How much money do I start sticking away in deferred comp? How much of that deferred comp can I roll over to my financial advisor once I retire from the city? How much am I going to be bringing in from para, with or without the penalty? What is that penalty? How much is it? How much is, dollars, not percentages. Like I want to know like hard dollar, like if this is what my number is from para, and what is it with and without the penalty? Yep. And, like literally, like, I mean, I started, kind of, and I'm, like I said, at 45, I'm 10 years out, but I started doing that. But I knew kind of like, okay, about this range, I'm going to start working a little bit more overtime. I'm going to bump that high five up a little bit, but I don't want to do it too early because if I do, then, and it was stuff like that you started kind of taking into consideration of how you're doing things. And I think at that rate, you're able to do it on your terms. And as law enforcement, right? I don't want to say as cops, but as law enforcement in general, when we kind of get to pick our path, it's a little easier for us to grab onto. Whereas opposed when you get told, well, you're done.
Yeah. Yeah.
And for me, that's what it was. Literally,
Right.
my cardiologist, I mean, I'm in her office and she looked right at me and she goes, well, you're done. And I'm
Yeah.
like, and I said, what do you mean? And from her desk, I mean, not her office down the hall, but from the exam room, she fired an email off to my chief and said, he's done. And I was like, that's it. Yep.
Just like that.
It was. And it literally was just like that. So I think that's where the difference comes in, is that you're in a stage where, and I agree with you, I don't think it's burnt out. I think it's just you're kind of at that point where, like, I've done everything I wanted to do. I've checked all the boxes I've wanted to do. I've completed as much as I've reached the level of where I want to be, that I'm comfortable with being at. And so I'm just going to check the box and be like, okay, like this was a successful career, you know?
So I recently, I don't know if I've told you this, and actually I guess whoever's listening is going to find out now too, but at the end of January, I dropped every single one of my additionally assigned duties.
Yeah. Well, you kind of told me that was your.
Literally the only thing I do now is I'm a detective.
Yep.
I've got rid of the drone stuff. I've gotten rid of everything. Dropped all my committees that I was on, tech committee and all these various things. I'm just kind of over it.
Yeah.
I'm capable of doing my job. I mean, and I just, toot my own horn. I just had my annual review and it was great.
Yeah.
It's not that I don't want people listening to this and, God, you guys burned out. He can't do. No, I do my job great.
Mm-hmm.
I'm effective. I carry my caseload. I mean, I investigate, but just all the additional stuff, I'm just tired of just the stuff, the noise.
Yep. And I think that's, and again, I think that's okay. I mean, that's how, I mean, everybody asked me for a while. They're like, how come, you were the chief of police of, of a smaller agency, but you were the boss, and you left there to go work as a patrol officer. And I'm like, yeah, well, why would you do something? I mean, you were the chief of police. And I'm like, I mean, I was so happy just not having the response. It's not that I didn't enjoy being the chief. I enjoyed it. I thought I did a great job. I had good officers that worked for me. I thought we developed a really, everything about my position was great. I think, what we did and what we had was fantastic. But I just think it was one of those deals where when we did make that transition and I went to just being a cop again, I didn't miss it at all. I didn't miss the politics, and I didn't miss the having to go around and talk to council members and have to, talk nice to the city administrator and have to make sure that the sheriff was happy with what we were doing. And I did it and I did it well, but I didn't necessarily like it, I have to drag a puzzle piece over to show that we're still here. There we go. That's what it said. It popped up on for those of you that do TikTok live. I didn't realize this is my first time doing it, but it literally said, "Are you still here?" And I said, I kind of looked at it and it said, "Drag the puzzle piece over to keep your live active." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So
fine.
I did. I did. So we're still staying live with our TikTok.
So here's a question I want to throw out to people who are listening right now. We've been doing this show for a while now. We've had people in, we've not had people in, we've had some interesting stories. For those who are maybe, I want to give the first carrot to non-law enforcement folks.
Right.
What kind of things do you want to hear about? What do you want to learn from us? I've had a couple people send me some texts and some emails and stuff. So I've got ideas, but to those who are listening today, what do you want to hear about? You want to hear about, Brant's?
No, you don't. No, you don't.
Brant's a great storyteller.
Well, if I have a story to tell, I'm willing to tell it. It's funny because I've had similar, right? So you and I have kind of talked a little bit offline too, but same thing. And I've got friends that have kind of said, "Hey, what do you think about coming on and doing my podcast?" And okay. I have a friend of mine who, was a business owner. He was a business owner. He was the mayor of a smaller, smaller, not small, but smaller community in the North Metro. And now he is and he's an airline pilot, but that's his retirement job. He works for a company called Club Jet. And I'll put the plug in for Club Jet.
Sounds fancy.
Yeah, but and I just had lunch with him the other day, and he was he's loving life. But here's a guy who was a business owner, owned his own HVAC company, and was the mayor, and and he was always kind of doing this pilot thing, and then all of a sudden now he kind of sold off his business, and so I was talking to him, and he goes, I said, you should come on the show, and he's like, I'll come on the show, and he you know, you think I can talk, you think I can tell a story, he can tell a story.
I didn't say that. I guess I did say that.
So he's definitely interested in coming on. I have a couple friends who are in the fire service that have said, hey, we would come on, I would come on and do your podcast with you. And okay.
I'm gonna have to think about hose draggers. Though.
Right. I know.
Oh,
I know. But I'm just listen, we just want to make sure we're, keeping equal opportunity stuff, but, yeah, I mean, same thing. Like I've had people that have, so I think there's definitely things, but within this, I mean, everybody always asks me too. So what's the scope or the range of your podcast? And I said, we don't really have one. I mean, we kind of provide a platform for our guests to kind of come in and tell their story. And I like that we do that. I like that we don't necessarily have a restriction of saying, well, you got to be a cop.
Right.
You had to have had some trauma in your life or your career. No, not always. I mean, I like telling those stories. I like telling those success stories. I like telling those, when we get people that are like, here's a positive, because a lot of what this career is, and people don't realize that, but a lot of this public safety career in general, there's a lot of bad stuff. There's a lot of doom that we have to deal with, and a lot of people don't see that side of it. So I like exposing that side of it. But on the same note, like there's a lot of positives that come out of what we do too. And I think that story doesn't get told a lot.
I had a really strange reminder just this past week. Obviously I can't give details just because it's an active case, but
right.
I had gone to a death scene. I'll just call it that. It was a suicide.
Yeah.
And I had made the comment to another employee that wasn't a law enforcement officer. They worked in the department, but not as a sworn officer who's, maybe as dark and cynical as most of us.
Right.
And I had made some comment and I'd given some description of what I had seen. And you could just see the look on their face was just like shock and like horror. And I just said it like it was another Tuesday afternoon, and he was like, does that happen often? I'm like, what? Oh, that you just see that kind of stuff? I'm like, well, I don't know about often, but often enough, that it doesn't bother me.
As in, it's like, it's not the first time I've seen it.
Right. And just, I'm like, it was just a quick reminder that the world that we operate in is just, it's messed up.
Yeah.
But it's normal for us.
And I think, right. And so I think most of like the cops and paramedics and, and even in some cases, depending on, the response, the firefighters will have the same thing too. When I make this statement, is like, those are calls you show up on, like as the initial responding officer. And the first thing hits your mind is not, oh my gosh, what a gruesome scene. It's, oh, this is going to be paperwork.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
No, I got to call people. I'm going to be here for hours. I am not going to make break. That's what hits our mind. It's not like, oh my gosh, look at that. How did they do? Why would they? That's not what hits our mind anymore. You hit your mind and you go, oh, this is going to.
You know what mine is? Mine is usually curiosity. It's like, ooh, how did blank, blank, blank? How did that happen? You know what I mean? It's more like,
yeah,
I don't know.
I had one.
Shock is gone.
I had one where I went to and I think I've told this one. It was where the guy, the incident happened in front of me, and it happened. In front of me, and he had shot himself with a shotgun, but he did it in the chest. And I was like, that was really,
it's a different spot.
Yeah. And when I went in and when I finally, after everything, because then obviously it became a crime scene and the investigators came out and crime lab came out, things like that. But later on, I had found that there was he had written a fairly lengthy note. And in there, he actually put in there that's why. He put in there why he selected that location.
The chest?
Yeah.
Yeah, because the chest is an odd spot. For anybody who's not
Yep.
law enforcement that might be listening to this, chest is very unusual to
Correct.
To shoot yourself.
Correct. And he did it because he wanted to be able to have an open casket at his funeral for his wife and his kids.
I knew that's what you were going to say.
That's what it was.
I wanted to maintain my head.
That's yeah. But that's he put that in his note. He put that as note and said, I'm choosing to do, I don't remember the exact verbiage of what it was. It was many, many years ago, but he put something in the verbiage of like, I'm choosing to do this way because I want to make it so my family has the ability to, view me or my
How
rest.
considerate.
And I was like, but you're gonna, you're gonna kill yourself, like.
I think they'd rather talk to you than see you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, man. Well, let's wrap it up on that wonderful note.
Yeah, right? Or not wonderful note.
Jeez.
So,
hey, thanks everybody for listening. Obviously, please visit our website at weareunderinvestigation.com. You can find us on most of the socials. Just look up We Are Under Investigation. You will find it. Fortunately, we become relevant enough that if you actually search for We Are Under Investigation, you can find us now.
We can find that now.
Isn't that fancy?
And for those who are on our Facebook Live, we appreciate you on there. I don't even know how many people we ended up with today, but
TikTok.
Oh yeah,
TikTok. Maybe Facebook Live next time. Maybe
we'll TikTok see. This time, but we'll be on again shortly. So if you guys are around and you want to jump back on, let us know. But for the time being, we appreciate you joining. Thanks.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
All right, all. Have a great afternoon. Take care.